Hello and welcome back everyone to the OPL. We're in round 4, day 1. My name is Julian Pastry Time Card. Joining me is Christopher Papa Smithy Smith. We have one more game to bring you to close out another day of OPL.
Absolutely, but first we need to track back on one piece of information, the MVP for that game. You might think it was going to be the AD carry after his amazing pentakill, but we had other things in mind.
Yeah, I think for us it has to be Cheese on that cast in there as well. Going absolutely stupid at 9, 2, and 7 and setting up so much of the early mid-game for Immunity.
Yeah, big kill participation numbers as well for that cast and made a lot of the plays. And when you're that Callista, sometimes it all lines up and the pentakill's just pressing E a few times. It was really the big plays from Cheese. He played the Swain twice, the Cassidon twice today. Didn't work out the first time, but a big carry performance that time out.
Yeah, and seems to love some more like hyper carry-esque mages, it seems like, in a comfy game there. Immunity will take it. Another 1-1, hilariously for them. And now we have a team that also wants to go 1-1 today. The Direwolves are taking on Sudden Fear here, and both of these teams, they want to pick up a win here because they'll be lossless on the day otherwise.
Yep, so Direwolves, trying to get in there against the Chiefs. They tried something different, and both times against the Chiefs, against that top opposition, now undefeated at 8-0, they've tried something different. First of all, Sharp took the Morgana mid, and they really had to pay for it. They didn't have the carry potential mid. This time around, they went full support mode. They went the 3 support champions. And while King's been wonderful, King's definitely been one of the breakout stars of the OPL, putting Perfection and Sharp on support champions just doesn't really make a lot of sense to me. They never... In these matches against the Chiefs, they've never gone for carry. They've never gone and trying to take it to the Chiefs. They've tried something out of the box both times and kind of paid for it. So I think they're going to return to their roots here. They're going to go more for those carry choices. I expect to see Perfection on something that can get a big CS lead and use his sharp mechanics to take the game to Sudden Fear. But Sudden Fear, they have got some wins on the board. They were definitely overpowered by Team Immunity last time out. But the Direwolves, I have to think they're going to be looking to play themselves back into form.
Yeah, and I like that you mentioned that specifically about the Wolves, that they do have a lot of very strong players on their team. It's almost 3 carries that this team is just blessed to have at this point. Is it actually the Chiefs manager, Sangi, on Twitter that made the comment before the game? It's curious that they're playing this team comp. I don't really get it because it's, yes, King's a great player, but Direwolves is full of great players.
Absolutely, but I think that G Tigers-esque Protect the Cogmore comp hasn't had a lot of established counters. If it's played ideally, if it's played optimally, I think no one really has had a true answer to it. So it had a lot of potential to carry. Their execution on it strikes me as maybe they hadn't scrimmed it enough, hadn't really thought it out enough. They didn't play around the limitations of the comp perfectly. Maybe just go back to kind of the standard hard carry mode, get Perfection on a big top lane carry, whether it's the Aurelia, whether it's even the Rumble that he's shown that he can carry on, and just take it to this Sudden Fear team.
Well, we'll have to see here. Sudden Fear on the blue side here for this game. Direwolves over on the red, and Sudden Fear, so much respect already, are going to immediately ban out Hecarim.
Yeah, the Hecarim top. It's definitely a top lane ban for Perfection. I mean, the things he did to that Morgana were just disgusting. So just a respect ban coming through. Sudden Fear, we have to give them some credit, because against those top opposition, specifically against Chiefs, you look at some of the results they were having in that game. In the mid game, I believe at one point, Paps in the mid lane was 3-0 against Swiffer. The team was actually 2,000 gold ahead at 15 minutes. Okay, Chiefs had some rough early and mid games, but it was a significant advantage for them that they couldn't translate. They're picking these comps that have a lot of potential. They're picking teamfight comps, but they're kind of losing it early. So if they can keep it even or ahead like they did against the Chiefs, I think on any day with their teamfight mechanics, they do have a real chance.
Yeah, so the ban's continuing now as well. Sudden Fear ban out Scion as their second, interestingly. So maybe something that we haven't seen yet from Perfection, but that he has been playing. We do have a Nidalee and Alessandro ban. I believe those are both mid lane bans actually over on the Sudden Fear side. So lots of respect here being given. And Callista, pretty smart last ban there from Sudden Fear.
Yeah, after feeling the wrath of a Callista, maybe it makes sense to ban away their champion. It has so much reset and carry potential. Sudden Fear, they've played Lissandra in both the top and the mid lane. Christmas Trees and Apaps have both taken. One of their victories was Apaps on that Lissandra mid, so again, probably a flex ban coming through. The last ban is the Gnar. I was waiting to see this. Christmas Trees Gnar has been very, very impressive in team fights. I was waiting to see a team pay respect to it, just to kind of see what other levels there are to this comp. We've seen Energizer on Sivir and Christmas Trees on Gnar for, I believe, the last 3 outings from Sudden Fear. Now they're going to be forced to go deeper in that playbook and show us something different.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, Christmas Trees had, I believe, played Aurelia also, at least in the OPL, so does have that option there if he wants it. Trying to think what else is open. Jarvan, obviously a strong jungler open there as well, but nothing super, obviously open at this point.
No, there's definitely some strong champions. Cassidon, is one that we haven't mentioned. Still 5.3, Cassidy's still a relevant champion. Not sure that's going to be the case on 5.4, but still new on the live servers. Anything could come through. Maybe go to the jungle like Nidalee, you know?
It's funny because we used to call top lane, mid lane rejects. Now the mid lane rejects, what, go to the jungle?
It seems like it.
We'll have to see here, but Sudden Fear going to take a bit of a different turn, actually. LeBlanc first pick there for Apaps. That's very aggressive.
But the answering Cassidy couldn't have been faster from Perfection. It's probably going to be the mid lane matchup. We've already seen it tonight. There is a lot of potential to take that Cassidy into mid lane and spoil LeBlanc's party. But again, Apaps is LeBlanc. Just as impressive as Swiffers when we saw them in the last game day. Both of them receiving MVPs for their performance on that champion. So this is something actually to be feared. Apaps has shown a lot of carry potential on that champion. It feels like when he's playing the aggressive playmakers, the Lissandras, the LeBlancs of the world, the ones that can make picks, can snowball in the mid lane, Paps looks really good. He's definitely the name that's stuck with me the most from this Sudden Fear lineup. It's a difficult matchup against Cassidy, but maybe he can do it.
Yeah, I like that it's a flex picture as well for Direwolves because I feel like in Immunity it was almost always going to be Cheese as champion, just not really something that JK Smithy wants. But we've got a few more choices here. Soul Strike's Jarvan, if he wants it, is open. He could take it to the jungle, and Direwolves have plenty of, not that much time actually, to make sure they get their second pick in as well.
I mean, Rek'Sai is also available, just as I mentioned, it comes through. I love the Rek'Sai. I mean, Soul Strike's Rek'Sai has been very, very impressive. Plus, it gives them split pushing options. They've already locked in the Cassidy, so let's assume that's a mid lane Cassidy just because of the matchup. Of course, it could go to top. The thing you note about Cassidy, very unreliable wave clear. Requires a high amount of AP, and of course those enemy spells or friendly spells coming through to use the 4 spells for wave clear. Not reliable. Having that split push pressure coming through from the global from Rek'Sai at least alleviates some of that mid lane pressure, although they need to pick up some wave clear somewhere else.
Yeah, so we'll see what they do want to do, but Sudden Fear have a few more picks to make as well. Pink Bomi, I think, is now locked in the Lee Sin, but could be considering different champions here. And yeah, they're going to lock it in there. Lee Sin going to go for Pink Bomi, and Sivir back for Energizer.
Yeah, 4 performances from Energizer, 4 Sivir picks. His laning in general has been questionable. He hasn't really been able to push the laning phase. He's been, I believe, in every game behind in CS and exiting lane. Okay, teams have started to develop strategies to shut down that Sivir, whether it's the Jinx, whether it's other carries, even mousing over the Vayne here, which I haven't seen a lot of Vayne this season, but will be very exciting. Sivir's laning, it's strong. She's usually able to leave lane at least with a CS advantage. Been struggling to do that. Team fighting has been pretty good, especially in that big victory. Showed a lot of smart use of Sivir's abilities. But Energizer, I was really hoping we'd see something new from that player.
No, not yet. And remember, Christmas Tree is probably going to play a new champion here as well with Nar getting banned out. So we'll see what he wants to go with. The Dial's got 10 more seconds to decide what they want to make for their next pick here. And King doesn't look like he's going to pull the trigger on Tristana just yet here. But the Dials could get very creative with some of their picks. We're going to have King's Corki. That's pretty normal, but someone is picking up Veigar.
So it's 5.3 Veigar. We don't know where it's going. Of course, we've seen a lot of Veigar support coming out in other regions. Just the ability to use that cage as kind of a zoning tool. You try and poke down a turret, maybe with the Trinity Force power spike on Corki. You put down the cage. It's a very large AoE. There's not a lot of options or counterplay against it. It can be very, very strong. Of course, it could be a mid lane Veigar. Against LeBlanc, I think it's biting off a bit too much. It's a very tough matchup. Probably going to be the mid lane Cassidy. Probably going to be a top laner locked in at last pick here for Perfection. And I'm guessing. I'm a betting man. I think it's going to be the Veigar support.
All right, so you're not ready for Perfection Veigar top lane?
I'm not ready for the Perfection Veigar top lane.
All right, we'll have to see here. A Sudden Fear. 15 seconds for them to round out their draft now as well.
Understandably taking a bit of time after the Veigar lock, you know?
Well, I mean, there's a lot of flex picks potentially going on here in the draft. So we'll see what Sudden Fear do. We're going to keep it pretty simple, though. This would be some very strong picks. Brawler, again, going to stick to more of the engaged style for his champion here on probably Leona. And Christmas Trees will take the other champion we've seen in play. It's Aurelia.
Surprisingly, I mean, the Blitzcrank would have been pretty effective against the at least three of the 4 members. Probably don't want to hook the Rek'Sai, but enough damage built on Rek'Sai. Blitzcrank engaged potential on any of the 4 members picked up in Direwolves. Leona's a similar flavor, obviously. Doesn't have the ability to pull, but still has plenty of engage when going in.
Yeah, I mean, that's what Brawler wants. He wants to create picks for his team, and I love that it sets up Apex in the mid there as well. Again, if Sudden Fear are going to take matches here against a top team like Direwolves, and they've looked very competitive, don't get me wrong, but if they are going to have to try and get ahead early, especially with this type of team comp, and just get Apex in, get the LeBlanc fled, get the Sivir around the map, moving in with the ulti, just make something happen soon.
It's worth knowing that the Leona is a really punishing pick for the Veigar support. If we are going to, again, we're waiting for the confirmation, but you know, Leona's always a champion to punish kind of those melee, sorry, those medium range AP supports like the Annie, just because she has such high base stats, has CC of her own, she can get in there, negate the engagement potential of the Annie, and really body her out as the Ahri pick. Does open up the fact that we're going to see a Kassadin top. Ahri mid.
There we go.
Veigar support.
Not perfection,
for a moment
Veigar
there, you were
top.
thinking about, you're like, yes, the Veigar top. No Master of Evil in the top lane.
Well, Perfection will take instead a champion that he does know very well there in Kassadin, and Sharp will actually take something he's been practicing a lot in solo queue especially. It's going to with that Ahri. Again, not classically an Ahri player, but he has certainly been training.
And not a wonderful matchup against the LeBlanc. LeBlanc usually wins this matchup, so it's maybe picking for comp more in the mid game, trying to get a bit more pick potential between the Ahri charm, the Veigar cage, a lot of potential CC coming through. There's a lot of play on this Direwolf side around the Trinity Force power spot. That's going to be the big thing here. I expect Trinity Force acquired, put that Corki in mid, move the Ahri to bottom lane. She does have good ranged wave clear, and try and snowball the mid game away from Sudden Fear. Sudden Fear's team fighting has been very good when they've been even. That just hasn't been the case a lot of this time. They've been sitting in holes and trying to catch up with strong team fighting. If you don't have the items to support a strong Gnar engage, for example, it just looks silly. It just looks like you've misjudged your engage, whereas the reality is if you'd kept up in the CS, if they'd kept up in the Global Gold, it'd be so different.
Yeah, it would. And I like the comp here from Direwolves. It's something a little different. I do like that Chuffer is on pretty aggressive support here in Veigar, and something a bit different for him as well. I like that you mentioned Ahri as far as split pushing goes as well, because you have multiple options in sieges, I feel like. You can, of course, rotate down the waves and clear them out very well, but in any sort of siege comp, having a really good skill shot CC is invaluable.
Absolutely. You have the cage potential for zoning, but definitely the pick potential coming out from the charm. Absolutely. The issue I have with Direwolves is, in almost any case, you should not be able to lane 2v2 as a Veigar support against a Leona. It's the Annie matchup amped up a few more levels, just because, again, you get the gap close through. The CC will register regardless of where the cage is put, and Veigar's base stats are very, very low. He should be able to be exploded. So Direwolves, I mean, we're going to get a bit of an insight into their mindset. If they're really cocky about this matchup and think they can just body out the Sudden Fear bot lane 2v2, they'll go for it. But if they're looking for perhaps the more balanced view, they respect their opponent opposing bot lane, they probably should look for a lane swap. Okay,
and maybe in theory, if we were going to get that swap, how do you feel like the top lane is from either team sort of fair in a 1v2 situation?
I mean, you'd obviously take Aurelia over Kassadin, right? Aurelia, very prototypical 1v2 laner, has excellent ability to CS at turret, has sustain, has excellent options when she's turret dived with the Equilibrium Strike. Kassadin, he struggles. In reality, if Sudden Fear are able to execute a lane swap, and we'll obviously find out very, very soon depending on their level 1 warding pattern, it will be a massive advantage to them. But then again, they're a challenger team, they're new to the pro scene. Lane swaps and executing them takes a lot of scrim practice, a lot of communication. They've got an AD carry that's, again, only been with them for the 4 games now. So there's factors working against them. But if they can execute it perfectly, a lot of advantage is potentially coming from the lane swap.
Yeah, so we'll have to see here as well. I mean, Direwolves have just a lot of comfort for them. It's still aggressive for the most part. I mean, Sharp's kind of on a new champion. Chuffer's going to take a new one here as well. But Perfection and Soul Strikes especially must be feeling very comfortable.
Absolutely. They're definitely on champions that they've played quite a few times already this season. And Sudden Fear, you look at it, it's kind of win-win both ways. Because if it's a lane swap, they can hold down Kassadin there, really can farm happily. If it's a 2v2, again, we've already talked about that Veigar versus Leona matchup. That should suit them as well. So we'll see what gets opted into here. Again, Brawler has looked very impressive on the Blitzcrank. His engage mechanics are pretty spot on. He's been choosing the right engages. This is a great situation for him to flex his muscles and take it to this Direwolves bot lane that has that MVP trendsetter so far, King.
Yeah, and I mean, I guess for Sudden Fear, I feel like when they play Sivir so much, especially recently, that it feels like they can only really give themselves a good shot in either the early or the mid game, because Sivir comps don't really do that much once you get to mid-late.
But remember, this is Sivir versus Corki, so like they've picked Corki into Sivir, so they've picked into a matchup that at best you go even in. It's not a great matchup for Corki. Obviously, you can spell shield the Phosphorus Bomb, which is the main harassment tool in lane. So there's a lot of outplay potential. So they basically picked themselves for comp. You can tell they want the Corki for his Triforce Power Spike, and they're kind of willing to gamble on the lane. It's either going to go even or better, they're hoping. But there's a big window for Sudden Fear to take them out in lane and kind of out-rotate them in the mid-game.
Yeah, and I have a question. Before we do get into the game, it's not too far away now. I have a question near and dear to your heart, Papa Smithy.
I'm listening.
What support item do you think Chuffer will start with?
See, the trend has been mostly, it's mostly been the AP options. Definitely been moving towards the Spell Thieves. I'm partial to the Relic Shield. Like, it doesn't sound intuitive, but you You can last hit with your Q, get AP, and then get sustained for both yourself and your laner. Like, I love the little synergy there. Kind of the issue there is if you're lane swapped, especially if you're forced to roam, you can pick up those Moby boots early. Want to put on map pressure, and we're expecting the Triforce rotation to come in early. Maybe your gold generation will go down, so I can understand moving away from it. And you probably want to finish off the ancient coin upgrade and go for the movement speed in the mid game. But again, I wish it was the relic shit. That would be wonderful, but I don't think it's going to be it.
We'll see. I mean, I think it'll make more sense in a 2v2 especially. So if Dials do want to break into standard lanes, that'll be sort of interesting. But I guess we'll find out very soon what Truff is going to do on that support Veigar. And I think we're going to get the bad news. He does have Dispel Thieves. But we do have our last game of the evening here for the OPL round 4, day 1. Sudden Fear on the left. They'd love a win this evening. And so are Dials over on the red side. Both teams have played tonight. Neither of them picked up a win yet. And someone's going to pick one up here.
So Dials so far have only lost to the Chiefs. They definitely want to keep that going if they want to secure second space. Legacy are definitely going to be chomping at the bit to get on the Rift in the next game day and start to bring back the one-game lead that Direwolves have over them. We'll see that reverse matchup, which will obviously inform the standings sometime later in the season. But for now, Direwolves, they need to win every game they get a hands on.
Yeah, I mean, losing on to the Chiefs is probably pretty good as far as records in the OPL go, but Sudden Fear definitely have the potential to upset here, and I do like that they've got Apaps especially on a very heavy playmaking champion.
Yeah, he's got a lot of confidence on this champion playing with his heals. I believe it was 10-0-9 in that matchup the last time out. So this LeBlanc should be feared much along the lines of Swiffers, which we've already seen tonight. So another double dose of assassin mechanics from these LeBlanc players. Always a pleasure to watch.
Yeah, and looks like we are going to get standard lanes as well. King and Chuff are already down towards the bottom side of the map, and it seems like we are going to break into a 2v2. So Corki has to feel like against Civic here that he's going to start a little bit behind.
Yeah, I mean, they're opting into a 2v2 in an unfavorable matchup. You can extrapolate what they think about this lane matchup from the fact that they're opting into it, but it's going to be difficult. They really need to respect the level 2 especially. You'd almost expect, if they could, to pick up the Grump just to give them an extra chance to hit level 2, because if they get hit level 2 on, Chuffer really offers very, very little in the early levels.
Yeah, instead those Soul Strike's just going to get a bit of help from his bottom lane to start his own Grump up and move into the blue buff. And Pink Boom, we're going to go Krogs into red. So pretty standard stuff. Both junglers will start on the same side, but like we mentioned, we are going to break out the standard lanes.
I mean, the Aurelia versus Kassadin matchup also does favor the Aurelia. Kassadin, he deals with magic damage so well. That's why in the mid lane against LeBlanc, of course, he can trade Qs, and the magic damage shield is so useful. Christmas Trees, he can just elect to max the hit end style instead of the more popular Equilibrium Strike, which does do magic damage, and trade up with that Kassadin. He doesn't have many options to react as perfection.
Yeah, and everyone sort of forgets, I feel like, with Kassadin, he has melee. Like, you have to actually get in there and last hit the creeps in melee range. So Christian Tree's going to feel pretty happy here. But perfection, he's done this a lot.
Well, I mean, the moment that, as we see in the bottom lane, the first engage already comes on to Chuffer. You can see for the amount of health that he's already lost, that he's not having the most fun in the bottom lane. Again, not respecting level 2, and suddenly going to eat most of his potions to stay in the lane.
Yeah, just like you mentioned, Veigar low base stats, good engage there available from the owner. Everything worked out well there for Sudden Fear. They're getting ahead, and almost all of the lanes, it feels like they have some sort of advantage in them.
Absolutely. I mean, on paper, Sudden Fear are very, very happy with this draft. LeBlanc has significant outplay and assassination potential on Ahri. In the top lane, Aurelia, especially if he can get a very early Phage, she really wants to chop with that 1465 gold and pick up a Phage, just because if you surf correctly with the Q mechanic and the burst of movement speed you get, you can get a really good trade in. But man, Christmas Trees went so aggressive to pick up first blood.
Yeah, tried to bet him in. Perfection, though, is not going to get another kill, though, so Pink Burmy will secure that one, but amazing 1v1 there by Perfection. Just a little too aggressive by Aurelia.
At the end of the day, Aurelia was really trying to bait and went far too far in and actually gave up first blood. Perfection, he wasn't expecting that, but he gets a little bonus.
No, instead just baited herself, but Perfection, he'll take it at this point at least. Chuffer will throw the event horizon on, actually gets onto Brawler, but Leona not particularly worried about that turn of events. Very tanky early on this Leona.
Absolutely. Base stats, magic resist, very, very high for the Leona. It's not a good place for the Veigar. And of course, the moment he uses that ability, it's on a very long cooldown before he's able to use it again. I believe 14 to 16 seconds at level 1.
Yeah, good stun there coming through. Brawler just kind of navigate around it. King actually could be in trouble. The Energizer going to look to go in, but has to trim the mending wave instead. King doing a good job actually keeping the mending wave pushed in aggressively, but Sivir, is going to push it back in pretty easily with the ricochet.
And the reason why I mentioned the Phage pickup is we see, again, another aggressive trade coming top, and Bomi's back.
Yeah, Bomi, he going to go in for the gank. Perfection does not like getting camped, but Sudden Fear seems to have learnt the strat. Perfection going to try and dodge the dive. Cannot do it though on Christmas Trees. Gets a clean 2v1 kill that time.
Keep trying to talk about Phage, and they keep ganking the top lane. The Phage will be really interesting, though, because you can use the burst of movement speed with a last hit to actually close the distance on him, even when he rift walks. So even though level 6 is usually a safe spot for the Kassadin in a melee versus melee matchup, Irelia should be able to chase him down. But if the item advantage and the ganks keep coming, it's going to be an irrelevant point.
Yeah, I think Perfection must be thinking, not again. He's seen this story a few too many times, even just today as well against the Chiefs. But Pink Bomi finally getting some pressure going. He's such an aggressive early game jungler, but we haven't seen him go for a few games. But this time, he's really sticking it to the top lane.
It's ironic that you're talking about aggressive early game jungling as Soul Strike tries to solo down the dragon. We do see King and Chuffa grouping. We don't have any wards down from Leona, but you'd think she'd want to react. It's going to take a long time to get that on this dragon.
Yeah, Brawler, doesn't quite check it. Maybe a little too afraid to go too far forward. Doesn't want to get stunned up by Chuffa's Vega, so Direwolves will secure the Dragon. King actually last hits it. A bit of a miss-smite there by Soul Strikes, but, they'll take a couple kills on Perfection for at least the first Dragon.
And credit to Sharp. He actually controlled the minion wave very well in the mid lane. You would have seen, was able to push LeBlanc under turret just as they were trying to take the Dragon. That lane control was so helpful as Bomi, third time's a charm in top lane.
I mean, ganking top lane Kassadin pre-6 is very important because in a long lane, when he doesn't have Riftwalk, he's just so vulnerable.
I mean, look, it's a 9 CS advantage, 10 CS advantage. The gold should be further in the advantage of Christmas Trees, if not for the failed attempt to get the first blood earlier in the game. So Kassadin's maybe a little bit more overtuned than the amount of attention that's been sent to him should perhaps have gotten. But down the bottom lane, this damage continues on Chuffa.
Yeah, Chuffa in trouble. Actually, Brawler ignited him, looking maybe to go in. King, though, has to now be peeled off as well. And Brawler might just try and get Chuffa, but doesn't have that much damage. And Energizer got so low up against King's Corky.
Yeah, they're playing this lane surprisingly well, are the Direwolves. Looking at the max, it is going to be the max E, so the stun duration's very long.
Really nice stun there. Brawler is going to peel off King. Good Boomerang Blade going to come in as well, but not that much damage here. I mean, Chuffa can't really do anything after the stun, so he'll get the double stun and walk out. But King staying competitive as he almost always does.
It's amusing that you don't get a lot of lane control out of maxing stun. Obviously, when you hit it, a big stun duration. But the scaling cooldown makes a lot of sense against Sivir because she has a very high cooldown on that spell shield. So if he ever tries to step through the event horizon to pick up mana, you know that your cooldown for event horizon is that much shorter than the spell shield.
Yeah, there you go again. I mean, he did stun a Brawler, but Energizer did use the spell shield, but Chuffa just going to go in again. I have to say, credit to Chuffa. His event horizon mechanics are on point.
Yeah, and King has been able to cause enough pressure that having no harassment tools are not that important to Chuffa, but they're going in.
Yeah, good tag there by Pink Bomi. King is forced to flash and does do so, but great Elysian pressure to Chuffa. Just throws a stun in onto Brawler to send a message, but Sudden Fear retake control of the bottom lane.
Yeah, 3 summoners used, but mostly on the side of Direwolves. They're going to have to be a little bit safer as in the top lane Perfection. Not having a lot of fun trading with this Irelia.
No, not right now. That CS lead's grown very swiftly there as well. 52 to 26. Basically double there in the top for Christmas Trees right now. So we talked about it. He's had good Nagans, but hasn't laned that well. Sudden Fear right now landing exceptionally against Direwolves.
Yeah, you compare the CS values, you'd have to say Sivir's a little bit behind given the support Vega kind of weight that he's carrying during the laning phase. So the fact that King's doing well is, again, a big credit to King, who's been very on form this season. But a decent advantage in mid and a huge advantage in top, as expected in this Irelia vs. Kassadin matchup.
And that's exactly what Sudden Fear won. They didn't get the first Dragon. That's probably a big miss for them, unfortunately, in the early game. But it was a good steal off for Soul Strikes. But Sudden Fear going to line up for the next few objectives. They haven't quite taken some turrets yet. They are getting aggressive in a lot of their lanes, but they need to get ahead in the mid game and really press once they have a good lead.
Absolutely. The mid game is Sudden Fear, so to be behind a Dragon, it's a hole to work out of, but the gold lead and growing that gold lead is the big important factor.
It really is. There is Sharp. We'll clear out some minions there with his Orb of Deception. LeBlanc will continue last hitting it, perhaps doing a good job there, going to get those minions under turret. And without a blue buff, though, he'll just go get one. A little tricky against Sharp, but should even things back up pretty swiftly here.
Sharp's been doing excellent in terms of controlling this wave. It's consistently been under Pap's turret, and that Paps has to use both the Mimic and the Distortion in order to clear those waves. Doesn't have the same harassment options. And Ahri in a matchup where she can definitely be killed around a level 6. The assassination potential is so much lower when you have to kill all those minions.
Yeah, as we see in the top lane, Christmas Tree is just getting aggressive, happily going to fight Perfection here. He just really can't afford to fight it all. Does get Transcendent Blade. Actually going to go back in, maybe even try and think about a dive, but instead just forces Perfection back. But Soul Strikes is up here now as well. A good smite lands in there. Good knock up there as well. Perfection, he wants to go in, but he can't be too aggressive here. But Christmas Tree has to run away. The damage does come down to Perfection. Finally gets a kill back.
Surprised Christmas Tree didn't try and re-engage on Cass and go for the Traker. There was no way for him to open up enough space, even with the flash. Went for the defensive option and paid for it with his life.
Pink Bomi has to be careful. Perfection going to get kicked, but Pink Bomi will follow in. Great trade kill coming out there. Soul Strikes will get the knockup. Does a lot of damage on the Rek'Sai. Sharp up here as well. Great roam by Ari, and she's going to get double buff.
Beautiful roam timing coming through, but the action doesn't stop in, but
Energizer in trouble. They're taking a lot of damage. The exhaust enough, actually. Energizer gets the first kill onto King. Now Chuffer going to get chased down. There was a trade kill that happened here, but Chuffer probably going to get locked up. Brawler's movement speed actually wears off, and Rek'Sai comes in. Christmas Trees maybe wants to fight, but Paps around here as well. They're going to try and cut him off for Perfection. Going to come down now as well. Chuffer, a great double stun. Now Brawler going to move in, and Christmas Trees is taking so much damage, and Chuffer gets the spare AP.
The event horizon was wonderfully on point. Does pick up a bit of AP with that kill, so he'll feel good. Maybe not for stealing the 300 gold, but it'll have to do. Ari's already rotated the top and is pushing that wave in very aggressively, so it's worth noting that Christmas Trees dies, doesn't get a kill involvement, and will lose a lot of CS to this top turret.
Yeah, just excellent rotation there from Sharp, especially really coming up strong from the mid lane there, and Paps actually could be in trouble. Perfection goes in. Paps, that was aggressive, but backs off there as well. Perfection will stay in the mid lane. Guess a mid-game lane swap has happened.
I'm thinking that eventually he'll rotate top, although he won't be too fast to do. He's not really enjoying this game and this lane too much against the Aurelia. But with top turret down, Aurelia might be able to get on the freeze, and it'll be up to Direwolves to be aggressive around the map to make up for Cassin's lack of trying to be able to go to that top lane.
So first turret did go down. Massive wave clear there for Paps, who hasn't quite finished a Morello. Nomicon Sharp has finished his, though, so bit of an item edge there. Brawler now could be in trouble, but we'll just move the pink ward away. King actually going to get aggressive. More wards being thrown down, but Direwolves will clear out what they can. The Dragon back in 8 seconds now as well, so the Wolves can look for their second Dragon now.
Yeah, Christmas Trees doesn't have teleport up and just backed. Went back to just pick up a pink ward, but given the timer, maybe they didn't communicate it enough, but it doesn't seem like Sudden Fear, with both their big top and mid lane carries at the base, will be able to contest the second Dragon.
Not in position. Pink Bomi could maybe try and steal. He's going to find a wall with the Raptor Sense, but he does want to try and get the Dragon Wall land the first Q. Boomerang Blade comes in. He wants to steal, but he can't get it. Pink Bomi going to get locked up by all the CC, and Corki will claim the kill, and Direwolves get the Dragon.
Yeah, both pick comp CCs come through. About 3.5 seconds worth of CC being stacked upon the Lee Sin. No Dragon to show for it. 2 Dragons down for the Direwolves. You'd have to think Sudden Fear's comp was looking to control that main objective this game with what they've picked, and Direwolves, they've just been too fast and too on point with that objective.
Yeah, and impressive that the Wolves have started rotating now as well. Again, so much credit to Sharp, who started getting aggressive with his Ari, who's controlled the wave, like you've mentioned so many times, just exceptionally well in that matchup.
Absolutely. Paps has really had to play on the back foot. We've already seen Paps on a huge carry performance on the LeBlanc, but nothing much has been able to do this game.
Sharp actually might even look for a dive here. Oh, actually already used his ulti, never mind. We'll just back off there instead, but did do good damage there to LeBlanc. Morello Nomicon's done for both of them, so the item edge will even out just a little bit here. Warrior and Chat's both done for the jungle as well. I guess we should check in on the Trinity Forces then. We've got a Phage up for Aurelia and a Phage plus a Shane there for King.
They've been very well held, Christmas Trees, after getting a nice little advantage in the top lane. Only sitting on about 1,000 golds, not even enough for the Zeal just yet. But over on the side of King, he's very close to that Trinity Force, about 500-600 gold away from finishing it.
Yeah, and Perfection after that start, getting ganked twice in about as many minutes here. He's got enough gold for his Rod of Ages now as well, so going to push out the wave, probably go back and buy that now, and the Cassidon, who was being held down a little bit, is really flourishing at this point.
Well, that's the thing about Perfection. He's a good enough player that you know that this linear strategy teams might think, you know, watching those 2 Chiefs games, all right, hold down Perfection and we'll hold down the Direwolves. It's games like this where he's going to be able to come back from an early deficit and really become a strong carry Cassidon if he keeps up his current momentum that will kind of question that common ideology and give Direwolves another boom in the mid lane.
Really good all in there as well, but Brawler actually going to come back in. Not enough here from Sudden Fear on the damage front though, so Paps will just back off after almost going down Sharp. Going to come in, just a little bit of poke damage there onto Brawler as Chuffer. Pretty much just walking around stunning people at his pleasure.
Yeah, the laning phase is definitely over for Chuffer. The painful laning phase against Leona lasted about 10 minutes. Now he can just run around, throw his really big AoE stun, and rack up the assists.
Does look so silly as well, but Veigar support Very effective stun they're coming through. And Chuffer going to waddle back down here. Actually, maybe look for a stun, but instead, just some pressure here. And even without the Trinity Force, King pressuring turrets fairly heavily.
I mean, Corki's laning phase is so strong. The moment he gets close to that Trinity Force, so much burst damage, a very long-range escape. He has so many different options that even with his support leaving lane, with all the map pressure that Direwolves has been able to put on, even against a pick comp like Sudden Fears, it's just, he's relieving pressure, and he's actually creating it himself, roaming around the map.
Yeah, nice stuff here. Brawler going to try and create some pressure as well. Dust on onto Chuffer. Good follow-up. Energizer going to pop the ulti. Chuffer, great flash, but a good follow there from Brawler. And Energizer nails the Boomerang Blade.
The max range Zenith Blade into the max range Boomerang Blade. Very nice from Sudden Fear. That's what they hope to be doing at the 2-minute stage, where they almost managed to DPS down Chuffer with a quick level 2. It's taken a while, but Chuffer's probably going to double down now and just stay away from that bottom lane.
Sharp actually does get spotted there. Pink Bomey going to come in. Sharp does have his ulti. Good charm though landing in. They're going to try and move in for it, but they can't now. Soulstrike's going to knock out Christmas Tree's Perfection. Able to chase down the Aurelia and gets another kill for himself.
Soulstrikes has been so good on this Rek'Sai multiple times now. 5 out of 6 kill participation. No kills to show for it selfishly, but handing over kills to that hyper carry Kassadin. No worries.
Yeah, Perfection again. After a very rocky start, it's looking so good. Pap's going to go back in. Shuff has to be very careful. Good Ari ultimate. Shuffer down here as well. Pap's going to try and juke it. A great flash gets him out from under it, but that minion might just troll him. He does distort out again, and Paps didn't get the kill, but he played that amazing.
Paps was doing so well, but not quite level 11. That's the big thing to discuss. Didn't have quite that extra burst of damage that probably would have taken it down. But this fight's still going.
Good kick. Pink Bomey Sharp, they're coming in. Lee Sin forced to flash out and will get away. Perfection, though, is looking very aggressive. It goes on to Pink Bomey, gets the damage down, just takes a bit of hits himself, but without Sivir here, there's just not that much damage.
You can see how much zone control Chuffer already puts out. All he needs is that event horizon, and it stops engages, it slows down pushes. Veigar support, maybe roam Veigar is perhaps the better way to look at it. It's not much in the lane, but so strong in the team fights.
Yeah, really good stuff here. And Chuffer only level 7, like you mentioned, but giving King plenty of extra experience, who now has his Trinity Force on Corki as well. So strong at this point in the game. Wouldn't be too surprised to see King, especially after he pressures out the bottom tower, just start to group with his team and push down some
And that's kind of the strategy we discussed, is again, another event horizon comes down. It's very tanky Brawler. Doesn't have flash available, might be in trouble.
Great charm there as well. Brawler is in trouble here, but might get away. No Perfection. Going to get 1 kill. Paps might make it 2, but there's no Ignite ticking there away. LeBlanc will just get away. Perfection, he's racking up the kills now.
Just a Morellonomicon tick, not quite the Ignite tick coming on, so will survive. But yeah, Perfection, after that laning phase, almost even CS. Racking up the kills around the map. With the Trinity Force completed, as we discussed before, Ari's got enough flat AP now. You could rotate her to the bottom lane just to clear waves against Sivir and really use this Trinity Force power spike.
We'll have to see here. Dial's going to set up for their next dragon now as well. It's up in 35 seconds. King here just going to clear his wave out with the help of Chuffer, who at this point going to pick up a little bit of extra experience for himself, as he's lacking slightly in that department. And Dial's going to keep pushing in until the dragon comes up and then rotate in and try and take their third.
Absolutely. They've stolen away the 2, you'd have to say, given the comps, but the third should be confirmed. They already have the 2 outer turrets, don't have the bottom one, as of course pushing against Sivir can be an exercise in frustration sometimes, and Chuffer's had enough of the bottom lane, has been roaming most of this game. But in terms of global gold, they're looking good, they're 3,000 ahead. And look at Chuffer, just trying to open up a bit more space. They clear wards.
I mean, just so much zoning coming through. Good patience so by Sudden Fear to clear the Direwolves pink ward away. So Dragon has respawned. Tower actually going down in the bottom lane. Finally, King able to pick that one up. So 3 outer turrets all down now for Direwolves. They're going to look for their third dragon.
Yeah, unfortunately, Energizer was in a bad spot where he kind of had to spend his gold. He was sitting on about 2,000 gold on completing the Infinity Edge and picking up the Zeal if they wanted to compete for this dragon. But unfortunately, the reverse point is they lose their turret for it.
Yeah, I mean, Energizer not even moving right now. The rest of the Direwolves already on top of the dragon. Pink Bomey might look for a steal once again here, but actually Direwolves going to reset the dragon a little bit here. Pink Bomey, though, very patient on the Lee Sin, but Direwolves are being very patient with the dragon of their own. Now Pink Bomey going to go and does actually get the dragon, but will pay for it with his life, but that's probably worth it.
A complete repeat of the last 6 minutes. He tried it then time, couldn't quite get it, but credit to Bomey, he gets it the second time through. The 6% stats, given the strangulation on the map movement so far, might mean so much for the Sudden Fear 10 minutes time from now.
Yeah, and importantly, worth to deny the third there from Direwolves as well. We've seen teams start to get better at contesting that third dragon. Now Brawler going to look for King. Can he find him? Great flash there from Corki, and King will walk away in style.
Yeah, used his Valkyrie towards the Veigar support. Veigar didn't even have to come close. Had to use his summoner. But given the situation, minimum used for King to stay alive.
Yeah, and the teleport actually going to come in. The red buff did get stolen away, but great stun there from Chopper. And Sudden Fear just faceplant to the Event Horizon. Paps, though, will look in, but can't find anyone here.
And Kassadin doesn't have his teleport available, so there's no big objectives to compete for. Perfection doesn't feel the heat. Wants to farm up his Zhonya's. It's probably about 600 gold away from completing that item. And it's just going to cause map pressure across the top.
And I think one of the best things to highlight here, just look at the top lane there at Aurelia. So far behind when it comes to finishing at Trinity Force. Doesn't even have the Zeal done yet. We expect Trinity Force to get finished, what, 15 minutes is probably your general time. Any later than that, you're probably not feeling too good about your build. And Aurelia, after such a great start, just not being able to get any additional fun.
And has already had to commit to the Merc Treads to kind of deal with Chuffer's CC. Of course, in a team fight, would basically have the same 35% tenacity with the passive. So perhaps looking for it for lane, which again, I think delaying a Trinity Force power spike is probably a more significant problem than dealing with that Vega CC. But again, he's gone that way. It's delayed the power spike, like you're saying. And that's kind of the issue with Aurelia, is that she has a very expensive ramp-up. Between the Merc Treads and the Trinity Force, we're talking, what, about 5,000 gold for just 2 items? And they need to move towards the next phase where Aurelia gets tanky in the front line. She's the real frontliner. King's overextended, though, in the bottom lane. You can just feel Brawler wants to go in.
He really does. King, though, will back out once again, and Dial's just, Sudden Fear just can't really close the gap, but it costs him so many resources.
Yeah, 400 move speed and a gap closer means that he gets away just fine.
Christmas Tree's now going to get slowed up. Soul Strike Splash, Unborrowed there. Good knock up there by Pink Bomey, though. Kicks them both back with Perfection. Can I come in? Flashes forward. Doesn't quite land the slow, though, so can't get Christmas Trees, but Chuffer lands a stun there. Pink Bomey nowhere to go, and Perfection on a killing spree now, 5-3-3.
Can't help but smile as the little master of evil waddles around the map, throws down Event Horizon, walks away. He knows his job is done.
Yeah, I mean, Chuffer's, I don't know if he put points in any other skills at this point. He does have his ulti, it seems like, but doesn't need to do anything other than be an Event Horizon bot. Just such an effective stun.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons why it's coming into competitive play. Of course, with the changes in 5.4 and the delay on the stun, people are saying that perhaps the days of Vega support are very short-lived. And given just how strong that ability is, you'd have to say maybe one of the strongest non-ultimate abilities in the game. Maybe it's for the best.
Yeah, we'll have to see, but Chuffer going to get full value out of it now. I guess Perfection maybe feeling the same way about Kassadin at this point as well, but they'll take it here, and Soul Strikes will get Zenith bladed up by Brawler, but the rest of Dial's are here. A knock-up there does come through, and Sharp just going to run in a good ultimate there coming through, but Pink Bomey just gets destroyed by all the Direwolves damage, and King going to get a kill there. Brawler going to go down to Sharp, and Dials get 2 clean kills in the mid lane.
Still have a lot of wave clear coming through from Energizers. They're going to maybe delay the push, but 5 members strong and all the zoning potential. Not much Sudden Fear can do.
Yeah, I mean, you just can't walk towards Chuffer's Vega.
I mean, the Vega, let alone the Ari charm. We don't even mention that because it requires just a little bit more precision to be able to hit. Sudden Fear, they're looking to engage with Christmas Trees. The Merc Treads will help him that time. He might live.
Yeah, good work there. Chuffer with another great stun there to help out King. And Soul Strike's even taking away the Wolf Camp there as well. So much pressure being put on this map here by Wolves. And you can see that, the massive 7,000 gold lead they've got for themselves translates into so many strong items. Zhonya's pretty much done for Perfection just to go back and buy it. A Brutalizer here as well for Soul Strike's very aggressive, but he even have a Giant Spell and now a Warden's Mail for a lot of tankiness. Deathcap's done here for Sharp in the mid lane on Ari, and Bloodthirster, no, actually Infinity Edge is on the way now for King as well.
Yeah, Infinity Edge, even with the 5% crit removal, you have such burst potential. And if you can get it at a fast clip, and you know that right now he's only about 2,000 gold away from finishing it, it can still be a very, very strong choice. There's no armor built up on this Aurelia yet, so why not go for the sheer damage? It's not like you need the defensive choices. There's very, very squishy members across the lineup of Sudden Fear. Maybe only Leona, with her innate tankiness, can take an Infinity Edge Corki in the next 10 minutes.
Yeah, and King's just had so much space in this game here with Chuffer even leaving lane pretty early just to make sure he could, help the other lanes as well. And King, very self-sufficient sort of carry player, but he's not even the star of this game, and he's had a great Corki game.
Choosing one star is going to be very difficult. I think Soul Strikes has been perhaps the most ever-present across the maps. Both his counter ganks and his true ganks have been very strong. His kill participation is high. He's doing a lot of damage.
Yeah, Pink Bomey in trouble. Just look at the damage coming in there from King. Soul Strike's going to get low, but Brawler going to give the double over to Corki. Now Rek'Sai, no, that's Perfection actually teleporting to a tunnel. Never mind. But King now going to get aggressive here. Wants Energizer. Sharp going to move in as well. The ulti there popped by Sivir, and Dial's going to take 2 kills and a turret.
Yeah, they take the turret. They always get the objective when they pick up up because it's 8,500 gold the advantage. You can see King dancing a little bit because he knows just how good his Direwolves team is looking. And you have to ask the question, where was this team against the Chiefs either of the times? They always try and throw a curveball against that other top team. If they just play to their strengths, if they just play champions they're strong at, it feels like they'll be so much more set up to succeed than going for kind of those strategies that are a little bit maybe out of their comfort zone, and they just don't look convincing on them.
Yeah, we'll have to see. Dragon is back up soon now as well. Pink Bomi did steal the last one as well, so that is good news at least for Sudden Fear, but Dial's going to get their third Dragon pretty swiftly here. And look to see what they can do from there.
Oh, but Bomi's in the area. He's already stolen one. There's still a chance.
We've seen this story before here, and Dial's again going to try and pull it out as far as they can. Sharp even, I think, going to try and body block it. That's good move that time. Even Chuffer throwing in with the stun. Although Bomi, he really wants to steal it. He's actually in the backline. Pat blows up Soul Strikes. That's a great pick. And Lee Sin does get the second Dragon, so Sudden Fear down but not out.
Yeah, even with the gold event showing so much respect to the Leona flank potential coming through. Bomi is the god of stealing things, and right now he goes for King.
Yeah, he's actually looking to move in here. Good stun there for Chuffer. Looks like a flash was forced out there as well. And the sidewaves, though, for Dials are pushing in very well. So they've managed that those flanks of the map exceptionally.
Yeah, I mean, saying very well is an understatement. Christmas Trees has to back immediately because there's going to be 4 or 5 minion waves crashing in on the top turret very shortly, and in bottom lane, much the same story.
We'll have to see now. Sharp going to clear out some waves there as well. Pink Bomi actually doing a little bit of counter jungling as Rek'Sai is going to move in towards maybe even the Baron now. King, though, forced to back off potentially on the Corki. I do like the Alacrity enchantment there as well. Just noticed that one on Corki.
He actually picked up very early. It must have been an awkward gold value where he just wanted to pick it up. He finishes the Infinity Edge. That's going to be a massive amount of potential burst with the, I believe, 30%, maybe 35% crit between those two items. Across the map, you can say one thing you can say for Sudden Fear, their defensive wards are actually excellent throughout both their sides of the jungle. Whether it's their pinks towards the top or the nice little triangle wards in the bottom, they're actually setting up very well defensively. But again, can they really afford to be spending that gold on wards given just how far they're falling behind?
Yeah, it seems like almost a weird trend of Sudden Fear where, you know, they kind of pick early mid-game and struggle a little bit sometimes to get ahead in those stages of the game, but they play the mid to late very well, so maybe they should just be picking more for that.
Well, the funny thing is, they do a lot of things really well. Like their warding seems pretty on point. The team fighting when they're ahead is excellent. Their issue seems to be just that, again, their early game needs shoring up. So maybe they need to focus on the lane dominating champions. They need to focus on really getting ahead in the early game. Because whenever they've looked competitive, whether it's PAPs going off, whether it's early team fights and early grouping really working in their favor, they've looked wonderful.
Yeah, they really have. And, I mean, strong performance here. We do have a quick pause, of course, which is why we're back here. But bit of a lull here to kind of talk about what's going on. I mean, Bomi having a much stronger showing here. Just today in general, I feel like he's really stepped up to look more like he was in the Challenger Series when this team qualified into the OPL. 2 steals so far in a row on Lee Sin. I mean, Sudden Fear do have a bit of a hill to climb back up, but they are starting to climb now.
I think Bomi's steals have been excellent. His map movement has been impressive, but his gank timings definitely haven't been on Soul Strike's level. Soul Strike, it's one of those kind of intangible things about a jungler is being in the right place at the right time. It's so easy to say, oh, it's luck of the draw. But again, the best junglers, they know how the game flows. They know how people move around the map, and they're always there in position. On the Rek'Sai has been wonderful. It hasn't been the globals necessarily to close that distance. It's just been the map rotations. I mean, budding junglers should definitely watch some of the pathing decisions that the Rek'Sai has made during this game because they've been super on point. And 1-1-9 and 13 kill game is excellent for the Rek'Sai.
Yeah, I mean, Soul Strikes has just gotten significantly more impressive, I feel like, as the Wolves have played more games. I mean, it's kind of hard when you've got players like Sharp, who's played very solid last year and looked strong coming into this one. Perfection is just unbelievable. And King, this upstart, this new player that's just basically taking over all of the top, you know, charts and stats that we can possibly throw at him as a player goes. But slowly but surely, Soul Strikes as a jungler are looking very competitive here in the
And that's
OPL.
the thing about the Direwolves. There are members on the team that are very new to competitive. Obviously, this lineup is not a settled lineup compared to the Chiefs. I think this team will only go from strength to strength. Maybe when they start to trust their guns and stick to them when they face the top teams. I mean, they beat Legacy convincingly. That's worth noting. It's just against the Chiefs, whether it was the Morgana middle or in the previous game going for the kind of overreaching on the GE Tigers Cogmore comp. I want to see them just go straight up, you know, fight punch for punch and just see how a real slugfest between those two teams. Maybe we'll have to wait to the playoffs till we actually get that.
I don't know if Perfection's heart can take that, though, because I
That's
imagine
true.
if it's anything like what we've seen already, There's a lot of camping going on there in the top side of the map. I mean, Perfection, though, to his credit, it's not just like he's one player on his team that has to carry. Like, if he's getting attention, sure. I mean, he's not happy about it, and he's a good player to shut down, but there are plenty of other threats on this team.
I mean, to me, the thing that actually sticks out is why not focus on the bottom lane? Why not focus on Kings? The one thing you can say as we sit here during this pause is that he plays very aggressively. He likes to flash in. He likes to, quick draw over skill shots. He likes to get in your face and do damage and get solo kills or duo kills in the bottom lane. He hasn't been preyed upon much. It's been a lot of focus on Perfection. It's worked for the Chiefs, and they do have a very experienced AD carry and experienced duo, but I think trying to prey upon King's aggressiveness, the things that get him those MVP votes, the things that kind of his mindset that gets those big highlight plays is the same thing that can be preyed upon if it's really microanalyzed. He does have some weaknesses in the game, just in terms of how aggressive he is. It reminds me of Pinoy when he was playing for Gambit at IEM earlier this year, and it was just flashing in for the melee range quick Q damage, and you're just like, all right, that works really well, but when people will figure you out, it'll be a bit difficult. So I'm not saying the King's a one-note player. I'm saying so much attention to a top laner, especially someone like Kassadin, might not be as valuable as trying to maybe take advantage of the over-aggression of their bot lane.
Yeah, I mean, maybe. It's interesting that we talk about carries who have seen a lot of great AD carries today in the OPL, but there's no Vi being played today. Has it been looked at in drafts?
I mean, Morgana's definitely been almost ever present, so that has shut down some of the Vi picks. But you're right, there hasn't been a lot of Vi. Vi's been very successful for a lot of junglers. Huey, for example, from Rich Gang, found a lot of success on that Vi. I think it's going to be sticking around. I mean, especially with the 5.4 changes, a lot of junglers, unfortunately, have been crowded out a little bit, like Lee Sin and Vi is going to be the order of the day, I think, mostly on the next patch. I guess not a big surprise on the Lee Sin. It's been around, stuck around since about Season 2, but I mean, the Vi will kind of go through peaks and troughs. We talked about the circular picks of the Morganas because of the Vi's and the Vi's because of the hyper carries. It's a cyclical game, so we'll wait and see. It'll come back.
Yeah, I mean, again, we even had a little shift here. We're already starting to see some changes develop in the OPL. And as we do sit here in this pause again, just sorting a few things out, but it shouldn't be too much longer before we pop back into the game. Kind of looking down and seeing what we do have available here as far as current information for the game goes. I have to say, Chuff has just looked wonderful on Vega.
And Chuff is not going for any sort of AP build. He's got the finished Mikhail, so he's got the defensive option. He's got probably the item they won against the Vega, ironically, with the Mikhails. So he's going full utility, and he's just, as you say, an Event Horizon.
Yeah,
bot.
we actually can see the inventories on screen. So this is the game currently as we're waiting through the pause, so we can kind of see what's going on here again. CS lead's actually pretty even as far as that all goes, so no massive leads in any lanes here. I mean, Perfection still playing catch-up, interestingly, after all the pressure in the top side of the map. King looking strong, but not a massive lead like we've seen him develop. And even Sharp actually slightly behind here. So Sudden Fear, it's all global gold, it feels like, and just skirmishes that haven't been able to win. It's kind of gotten to this point where they're at 6,000-7,000 gold behind.
It's worth noting, this is about 27 minutes into the game. You consult Aurelia's items. She's probably, I mean, at that bare minimum, in a bad lane, you'd want at least a Warden's Mail on top of what she has, if not a completed Randuin. So she's definitely the one with the very delayed item timings, and this is not a very tanky Lee Sin. He's got a Giant Spell, again, for a bit of innate tankiness. He's got the Hex String to deal with some magic damage. But the front line is very, very weak coming out of Sudden Fear at this present point in the game. They need to extend it to the point where those two guys can actually be a realistic front line before they can really look to take a fight. And you kind of worry, barring some more heroics from Bomi, how they can not give away too many objectives.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's sort of mid-game focused here for Sudden Fear. Trying to think what a winning team fight for them looks like. I mean, they have some pick potential, I guess, with the LeBlanc, so that is an option there if Paps can get aggressive and really blow someone up. I think you're right with Christmas Trees. He just needs to find space to farm, and whether or not he can stick in an empty lane, whether Dials will stop applying pressure and give him space is unlikely, but possible, I guess. And Energizer, for me, a very strong Sivir player. I actually really like what he's done with his build as well, as he's going for kind of the standard. He actually doesn't have boots, interestingly enough. That's a bit weird.
Yeah, he's Merc Treads. On my screen, at least. But he's getting there. He's
there.
working out his build. But
spoiler alert, he has boots.
Sorry about that one. You think? You sure?
Well, that'd be quite interesting if he never bought them. But yeah, I mean, kind of moving through there as well. A good showing so far, but Sudden Fear seems like the early game where they have to work out some of the kinks. And we are back in the game, so Dial's going to keep the pressure on.
Again, but you look at the mini-map, they do have the wards to support a pick play coming through from LeBlanc. She has the death cap. She's not overtuned Nimes, but she has assassination potential. Use the death cap. Use the advantage you have.
Yeah, we'll see now as well. So you pop back into the game. You're a Prophet Papa Smoothie. Shiva
just a
does have the
Prophet.
Mercury treads. So well done there. I don't know how you did it, but you are a wizard. And Dial's going to continue pressuring now as well. They've got the very strong Corki. They've got a great Cassidy who still doesn't have his Zhonya's yet, but will get it soon as he returns back into the game. And King just going to keep pressuring. Just not a care in the world here for this Corki.
Seems to be some connection issues with Perfection, but I'm sure they're all being ironed out.
I imagine they're resolved now as well. So Dial's going to continue pushing down here now as well. And again, that'll keep the pressure up. Good warding here as well on at least the bottom half of the map. I do like the very aggressive pink ward that's been placed down there by the Wolves. And no objectives to take yet. Bomi, of course, just stole the last dragon. And now the team's really started to look at Baron yet.
Yeah, again, Sudden Fear, we talk about what they do well. It's the team fighting, and at this point, at least, the warding. They know what's happening, and they've got timers at least. That if there's a shift in the game, they know when their red buff's up. They've lost the minimum in terms of big objectives. In fact, they're actually in with a shout in terms of dragons, which is very, very surprising. It's the global gold that's kind of oppressing them, though. With the 6 turrets to 2, that's about 4,000 or 5,000 gold in the pockets of Direwolves that the Sudden Fear just can't hope to wrestle back.
And it's like you mentioned, every time Dials have gotten a pick, they've managed to wrestle it back and get themselves an objective. And that's why so much of this global gold lead has been developed here by the Wolves. And now Cassian going to be back. He's got a blasting one, and his Zhonya is now finally completed as well. Pretty much everyone's ready to rock here in Dials, and Sudden Fear still need to find some time to farm.
That's the issue. Again, when you have an expensive power spike like Aurelia does with the Trinity Force and Merc Treads, you just don't have the items to show for it. I mean, you look between the 2 carries in the top lane. It's only 1,000 gold, but it feels like so much more when we're talking a completed Rod of Ages at a very good time, a Zhonya's, the Boots 2 completion, and of course the Blasting one. Perfection feels overtuned in items. It's just instead a very expensive build coming through from an Aurelia.
Yeah, and Perfection, especially given all the pressure that was thrown at him in the first 10 minutes, once again here has done very well here on the Cassian. So continuing to push the top lane well as well. Christmas Trees will actually get some farm as a result, but has to play pretty carefully with no tier 2 turret in the top side either. Perhaps actually wants to go in. Good pressure on the King, and Sharp can't quite find the charm. King does get chunked out a bit.
Yeah, the safe places for Christmas Trees to farm have been few and far between during this game, which is kind of ironic given how much pressure was put on Perfection pre-6. But he's been preyed upon after those initial skirmishes. He's going to go back, probably complete his Warden Smell to start working towards Aranduin, but definitely undertuned in terms of items.
And King here has all got a Zeal now in his inventory, so really pushing kind of the Infinity Edge part of his build at this point. Probably a Phantom Dancer actually going to come in, and that is a lot of crit with those procs.
Absolutely, looking very, very strong. Just sitting on a Zeal. Usually you don't see the Zeal on top of the Trinity Force. Again, he's going to have so much move speed at this point, just tabbing over to him. Sitting already on 445 move speed, moves up to 463 when he gets a Phage proc. A very, very slippery Corki coming through.
Yeah, and that's what King wants. You mentioned he likes being aggressive. Pap's in trouble though. Charm does not land, but the rest of the damage does. And King now unstoppable. Gets another kill. Energizer gets blown to pieces. King flashes so aggressively forward, but only the 1 kill for the Wolves.
Yeah, Sudden Fear's front line is all completely split away from their carries. One of them already dead. Unfortunately, the position didn't work for them that fight, and that was 4v5.
And again, you talked about King being an aggressive player. You can kind of see that here as well as Bomi, who will get the knock up there as well. Soul Strikes going in very aggressive. A good, decent ulti there coming in, but Brawler now going to be the next victim to get caught out. Just not enough here, and King dominating now on the Corki. 6, 1, and 2. And this mid lane turret, actually good wave clear from Siva. Sudden Fear going to keep up here, but Perfection is still pushing.
And the next minion wave's coming through, but Direwolves back off. They see they're going to have 3 or 4 minion waves crashing the bottom lane. They can steal away the red buff, and this again is all without Perfection grouping. Perfection just picking up his items, maybe working towards a Void Staff. He'd be 300 gold away from completing that. Everything's looking great for Direwolves. They just want to finally pick up that 3rd dragon. They've already had it stolen away twice. It could have been a 5th dragon, which would have meant the end game for Sudden Fear. But Soul Strikes, he's not going to let that still happen again.
Really smart stuff here. King will kill him instead, and no jungler can smite it away now. Direwolves sick of getting it stolen away. Do set quite the trap there, and King low on health, but collects another kill.
After two steals, you don't mess with Fate once again. Just get the pick with the vision control you've been able to put down. Everything's coming up Direwolves.
Like comically speedy Vega here as well. Just running in. I mean, Chuffer, again, it might look silly, but he's been so effective on the support Vega. Just running in with the Moby Boots and Event Horizon people. And we talked about King's movement speed, Chuffer as well that we looked at. The movement speed is so good because it's such a hard stat to get, and that's why the 3rd dragon's so important.
You'd think it would be a hard stat to get, but look at this Corki. He's just building Zeal after Zeal. It's all good. He finishes the Phantom Dancer, got Alacrity boots. Turbo Corki is definitely on the map. I mean, for once validating the plane that he's riding in. Sometimes that guy is comically slow.
That's true. And King, I mean, it makes so much sense with how forward King loves to go. I can tell you right now, that is not runaway movement speed. That is all-in movement speed.
Well, from the lore, didn't Heimerdinger create? Maybe he's been tuning up the boosters on Corky's flying apparatus today because he's moving very, very fast around the map.
He's pimped his ride. Now he's going at supersonic speeds across the rift.
Sounds like a feature that Riot hasn't explored. Pimp My Ride, starring Corky.
Well, Dialabs instead will look to Baron as their next feature in this game, and they're going to put down some wards. Good Rek'Sai tunnel pressure here as well. And King on the very speedy Corky, and with plenty of damage to back it up. Dialabs are going to try and take an even bigger objective. And if Bomi steals this one, Sudden Fury are going to keep themselves in this game, but that gold lead is getting dangerously close to 10,000 ahead for the Wolves.
And Castan's not grouped yet, so they have to buy a bit of time. You can see Sudden Fury getting a couple of defensive wards, and they know exactly what's going on, so credit to them at least for keeping up to speed. Corky's not grouped. This might be a good time to fight.
Yeah, Perfection actually going to pour it in their Christmas trees now, could be in trouble. A lot of damage going to move in now as well, but a great move there from Chopper. Actually doesn't even get the Aurelia, never mind, she walks through, but King, now Legendary gets the first kill. Pink Bomi going to be in trouble, and Corky just going in. That's an amazing kick, but Chopper wants it. He doesn't even get the kill. It goes to Corky once again. There's the double. 9-1-2 on this Corky.
9-1-2. No need to share down any assists. Chuffer's not interested in picking up kills. We'll feel a bit bad that he's picked up one, given that he keeps doing a fadeaway event horizon and not putting in any damage. King's doing so much damage with his auto attacks. It's just much more critical strike than you'd expect from a Corky. The right-click damage, not the spells, is where the damage comes from. And of course, it's the Berserker Greaves, not the Sorcerer's Shoes. It's not really AD caster Corky. This is right-click Corky.
Yeah, this is hard carry Corky for sure. And King playing with fire a little bit, but I think representing himself as a player well without a Vampire Acceptor at this point. Just so aggressive. Feels like his positioning and play King put him through. Now Perfection going to dive in onto Paps. A good zone. This comes in. Soul Strikes wants to go in, but King is so low, and Christmas Tree's doing work here. Now Chopper in trouble. He's going to go down to Energizer, and Dialabs may have bit a little too much there with that Baron.
Yeah, Chopper definitely got bodied for only one of the first few times this game. Just died for free. Dialabs leave him in the dust. Back away. The Baron was too much to bite off. But the minion waves, they're pushing very strongly for the Direwolves.
Yeah, again, the side waves in the top side for the Wolves have been strong. Sudden Fear done a great job on the bottom side, though, so King will rotate in towards the bottom side of the map to clear that out for his team. But Sudden Fear, again, keeping in this game, that is all they really need to do.
Absolutely. They just want to buy as much time as possible. But remember, they're buying time against the Castan. The Castan's quite overtuned. In terms of the late game, it's pretty even across the board. I'd probably just about tip it towards Direwolves, just given how much damage late game Corky can do with this item build. Of course, you have to kind of take away your AD carry matchups when they go more towards the AD carry focus. This is definitely a right-click Corky, so we have to remember that. He will be not necessarily a tank buster, but he'll do a lot of damage, especially to the low armor values on Sudden Fear.
Trying to think of the last time King bought a Vampire Acceptor, by the way. Not interested at this point, just wants all of the flat damage.
He'll get the Bloodthirster later, don't worry about it.
It's coming with a BF sword now in his inventory. For that probable Bloodthirster coming in next year as well. Energizer, 3 items now for the Civ. It does have the Last Whisper going, so things looking decent here. 3 items actually done for Paps there as well. I mean, if Sudden Fear can find a pick, they have the damage, but the Wolves just so much stronger still at this point.
It's quite an intelligent build, just because, again, it was going to be basically almost a quadra AP if you count AD caster Corky as mostly magic damage. So just going full-on AD carry build, there's not a lot of armor at all on Sudden Fear's side.
Papsto going in, really wants to kill on the King, but he Volks out there. Now Brawler diving in and just gets shredded to pieces. Perfection gets that first kill. Now King going in so aggressive. Bomi actually kicks him back. Corky out under the turret now, but Chopper gets in there with the Mikhail's double kill to Kassadin.
Yeah, double kill. There's 2 already have fallen. There's no minion wave to take down this turret, but you know that's what they're looking for. They always try and translate it into the big objective.
And King has used his flash on cooldown pretty much at this point. Just never ever wants it to be up. Always wants to use it aggressively, and aggressive he has played here in this last few minutes.
My flash is a gap closer sometimes, pastry time.
I think for King it always is a gap closer here, as Dialabs are going to knock down their first inhibitor turret and the inhibitor there of the game in the bottom side of the map. Dragon back in a minute. King going to walk it back. He turns and fights Christmas Trees. Has to be careful, and King still legendary now, 10-1-4.
The advantages of going for the full carry Corky build is that if you get aggressed on and they get stunned, you do a lot of damage.
I don't want to see what happens when this Bloodthirst gets completed. No, King finally gets killed. A beautiful sneak in there by Paps to get the Mimic. Just enough for the Corky. LeBlanc will cash in that goal.
Yeah, LeBlanc's KDA and Paps' KDA on that LeBlanc is staying intact this game, but unfortunately, the game is very much being played around him. The next Dragon's in 30 seconds. If Sudden Fear manage to actually secure this, they'll be even in Dragons at 3 apiece. That will be a massive win for them, but every other metric, landslide in the advantage of the Direwolves.
And they have to be careful. They're going to have minions pushing down the bottom with that inhibitor gone as well. Perfection's very scary on this castle. It was actually in the top side of the map right now. Sudden Fear might be able to do it. Corky's still dead for 12 seconds as well. So if there was ever a time for a third dragon, Sudden Fear going to be pretty happy to get this one.
Yeah, so much of the damage comes onto Corky. So much of the gold as well with 10 out of the team's 21 kills. Still a risk with all the CC and lockup available from Direwolves. Their pick potential, even without Corky, is super high.
Yeah, Leonor's going to move in there. Chuffer actually could be the target, but Sudden Fear will back off, use it to zone them out and take their third dragon. Very strong play there. King not quite far enough. Pink Bomi going to safeguard his way out as well, and Sudden Fear get a third dragon.
A surprising stat pace time is that throughout the OPL, Direwolves, despite all their victories, have been traditionally very poor at controlling dragons. Not been an objective they've really stuck their necks out to pick up. They've often been behind or giving away 2 or 3 dragons. The Baron, though, will be a wonderful trade for them, but they definitely don't value dragons as much as teams like the Chiefs.
Yeah, we'll have to see here. Direwolves will get the Baron now as well. That's their second of the game, I believe, so going to make it strong and help the pushing that they've already sort of started with the bottom side of the map here, and Direwolves still very strong. 10, 12,000 gold it looks like in the lead. Chuffer going to force a flash there with the event horizon, and Direwolves still have plenty of room on this map.
And they have 2 potential split pushes in terms of Kassadin having teleport and Rek'Sai having the global ultimate with the tunnel network. I mean, at this point, the Rek'Sai, she can teleport right into the bottom side of the map. There's aggressive tunnels right next to the entrance, the bottom entrance to the Sudden Fear base. They have so many split push options, and even all this hard work in creating the sideway pushes, it just means nothing when the Baron buff is riding on you.
Yeah, we'll have to see now as well. Pink Bomi going to scout some things out on his Lee Sin. Check for jungle camps, and unfortunately for him are not there. We're going to have Sivir down the bottom side as well. The Energizer actually will push out the Super Minions, and Sharp with now a Rylai's Crystal Scepter going to ride the Baron Minions up towards the top.
But worth noting, finally that Bloodthirst is completed. You wondered where the Vamp Scepter was. It was never created, but it is actually formed inside that Bloodthirst.
Yeah, I think he had it briefly, but Corky is just doing unbelievable amounts of damage at this point. Doesn't even need the last Whisper, really. Even Aurelia's melting to all of the damage here coming through for the Wolves. And poor Minion just got crit for 1,000 gold. Sudden Fear do want to steer clear of the Corky.
Absolutely, the Corky's doing so much right-click damage. It's so hard to adjust your playstyle when AD caster Corky has been by far the more common build for a very long time now. But here comes Direwolves, and they want to finish this game.
Pink Bomi is taking a lot of damage here. King just going in, going to go in 1v2 and get a solo kill practically. Now going to dive back in. Energizer in a whole host of trouble, but Pap's going to dive in. Does get the kill into Vega, but King not stopping at all here. Just going to keep going. Gets the double. Someone running at the back. No, triple there for Corky coming in and said Perfection. Going to get out. King did dive into the fountain, I believe. So he did get himself killed. But the Direwolves, they'll take the 3 for 2.
Absolutely. They're very bloodthirsty for kills. They do take the inhibitor, but Paps is looking for the answering kill on Sharp.
Am I going to try and get the outplay there as well? Paps did dodge out from the charm. Rek'Sai going to move in now as well, and that's going to move LeBlanc away here. Perfection's joined the fight here as well, and the Baron Minions are even doing a lot of damage. So much damage coming through from the Ahri there as well, and the shutdown comes in for Sharp.
You can see the solo queue practice is helping, very on point with his charm. Direwolves, they're going to push into the base. Not sure if they can finish just yet, but they're going to get close.
Yep, another Direwolves going to certainly knock down some turrets if they can here. The first one does go down. The Minions helping out as well. Christmas Tree's trying to go in, but gets knocked up and killed there. So, the death time is still quite long here, and the Direwolves will finish this game without their AD carry. No, maybe not. Pink Bomi going to dive back in. Perfection should be able to finish it here. Does it in style with the Zonies, and the Wolves take another game here against Sudden Fear.
Something fitting about a cast and Rift walking in and getting the last auto attack to backdoor and Nexus. It's the Direwolves. This is the Direwolves we were expecting against Chiefs. We've said that twice now, and twice they've thrown a curveball that they've kind of paid for. So it's, again, I want to see this Direwolves every time. I don't need to see the innovative. I don't need to see cribbing strategies from the LCK. When they just go straight up, when they play to their strengths, they are a wonderfully strong team in Oceania.
Yeah, and credit to Sudden Fear there as well. Had some very strong moments throughout that game. It's just maybe staying consistent and tightening some of the knobs there and the levers and tweaking a couple of things. Going to really push Sudden Fear up towards, maybe the top 4 of the OPL.
Absolutely. They want to hit that 5th spot. Of course, 5th spot is where your move away from the relegation places. You're guaranteed a spot in the next split of the OPL. That's probably their goal at this point. I imagine top 4 is maybe a little bit too far for them. Top 3, especially given how good Direwolves, Legacy, and Chiefs have been on their day. But just keep improving, keep living up, living the dream, moving to the professional stage, and really getting up there.
Yeah, and so with that, we're going to have the results of our day now as well. Let's just recap what we have seen so far in round 4, day 1 of the OPL. Iron versus Chiefs was a win there for Chiefs, and that continued there as well. Still undefeated are the Chiefs.
We saw that wonderful game, the Chiefs versus Direwolves. It was so much strategy, so much high-level play. It was great to see between the 2 top teams in the region. The day finished off with Immunity beating Sudden Fear, and Sudden Fear, they couldn't get a win on the board. Direwolves were no pushover, and they finally get their answering win after falling to the Chiefs.
Yeah, and the Direwolves, like you said, lose only to the Chiefs so far in the OPL, and that's not the worst record at all. So Legacy really want to make sure they have a good day 2, and they get here for their round 4 as well. A lot riding in the table right now, and it's very tight towards the top.
Absolutely. Legacy need to win every game and then mark on the calendars that big rematch against the Direwolves. They'll want to come back, pick that one up, and then it's going to be just points. It's going to be all sorts of stat breakers to get to the second place if they can show up those victories against the other teams.
Yeah, but before we get those all, of course, we have a day 2 coming up here for round 4 in the OPL. So let's have a look at the schedule that's coming up. Next Monday, the Rich Gang takes on a Legacy, which should be a very fun opening match. And then Legacy still trying to get wins, take on Avant.
Now, speaking of trying to get wins, 4-0, they haven't got one on the board. 2 more chances for them as they take on the Rich Gang. And finally, 4-0 take on Avant to finish off the day.
Yeah, and again, sort of a lot of movers and shakers there in the bottom-ish half of the standings as well, but should be another great day of OPL. And we're starting to get almost halfway through now as well. Lots of games being played, some trends starting to emerge, some star players here as well. It's been a very fun time so far.
We still see new things. We still see wonderful things. And if you consult the VODs for today, in fact, if you want to find out any information about the schedule, the results, all those VODs, please head over to oce.lolesports.com for all your information on the OPL. I mean, just from today, we've seen a pentakill. We've seen some wonderful play coming out from the Chiefs to counter the GE Tigers inspired strategy coming out from the Direwolves. That was an excellent game there. All your information available on that website.
Yeah, so go watch your favorite teams, check the standings, or just make sure you know when the next games are coming through. It's been a lot of fun here in the OPL, but we are going to sign up for today. Don't forget to join us next Monday for the next day of play. But for myself, Papa Smithy, Atlas, and our entire live production crew, we will see you next Monday.